Hello and welcome live to WCBN Sports on YouTube. We have a very, very special broadcast going on today here in the Motor City at Little Caesars Arena. My name is Neal, Sinha. Joined alongside me is Kelin, Flynn, and we have the number 1 seeded Purdue Boilermakers set to play the number 5 seed Gonzaga Bulldogs here in Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. This is the Midwest semifinals. So we're in the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. Keep in mind, of course, as you probably are coming into this game, not much of a pregame for us here, but we're going to get started. Edie is under the scoreboard, awaiting the tip here against Graham Ike for Gonzaga. The 5 for Purdue in the all-white uniforms is led by Zach Edie, Lance Jones, Trey Kaufman-Wren, Braden Smith, and Fletcher Lawyer as Edie wins the tip for the Boilermakers. For the Bulldogs, it's Graham Ike, Anton Watson, Nolan Hickman, Ryan Nemhard, and Ben Gregg. So here we go. We are underway at the start of this one. Early jumper from the Bulldogs, or excuse me, from Purdue is left short, rebounded by Watson. Here comes Gonzaga the other way. Hickman has it, goes down low to Ike. Working on Kaufman-Wren. Ike dribbles in, left-hand floater, left it short, picked up by Zach Edie. Purdue coming the other way. Purdue led by point guard Braden Smith. He's been such a steady presence for the Boilermakers all year. But you know who's been even better, though? Zach Edie down low in the left post. Right-hand hook up and in. Nothing but net, and Purdue's on the board first. 2-0, 50 seconds into this one. Here come the Bulldogs the other way. Nemhard with it. Working on Lance Jones. They're passing it around Hickman. Back to Nemhard. Leads the team in assists. He's really the facilitator for the Bulldogs this season. They go outside to Hickman. Hickman with it. Up to Ike. Sets a screen for Nemhard. Nemhard into the lane. Mid-range jump. And we apologize for the technical difficulties. We're working with an old soundboard here for the station. Back to action, though. Purdue leads it 5-4 with 17:30 to go. Into the lane, it's Anton Watson, and Gonzaga takes a 1-point lead at 6-5. Purdue coming with it back down the forecourt. Smith has it. Up top, it's Edie. Back to Braden Smith. Smith with a little hesitation into the lane. Near the charity stripe, dumps it off to Edie. Working with that right hand again towards the basket. Gets fouled by Ben Gregg. And Zach Edie will have 2 free throws awaiting him. I don't know if these Gonzaga fans are going to love watching Zach Edie today.
And Zach Edie is the most fouled player in the country. It's a part of his game. It's what he does, is get to the free throw line. And when you're 7 feet 4 inches tall, that's really tough to defend without fouling.
So Edie at the line, 71% free throw shooter at the line, drains the first. 6-6 here in Detroit. Zach Edie leading the country in points per game this season with 24.4. Edie's second free throw bottoms.
And a near surefire lock to repeat as National Player of the Year. He is a force in the middle, not just a tall guy. He's got the touch to go along with the size.
Certainly does. Nemhard being fronted by Lance Jones. Nemhard into the lane, looking for Gregg down low. He had the closeout, and then we're going to get a foul called on the Boilermakers. Looks like it's going to be on Kaufman-Wren here. So once again, 7-6 in favor of Purdue with 16:50 to go in the first. And they inbound to Graham Ike. Ike with it, dumps it off to Hickman. Hickman in the lane, dribbling around the right post, and then we're going to get an offensive foul called on Gonzaga. It's going to be on Greg. So Purdue coming into this game, the #1 seed in the Midwest region. Gonzaga the 5. How these teams got here: Purdue blew out Grambling State, followed by Utah State to get here. Gonzaga, meanwhile, took down McNeese and then took down the Kansas Jayhawks. So here's Foster Lawyer, down low to Kaufman-Renn, working at the right elbow. Renn into the lane, puts up a floater, leaves it short. Tough rebound by the Bulldogs there. Here comes Nembhard the other way. Nembhard setting the offense up, goes outside to Graham Ike. Nembhard gets a screen. Ike's left alone. He's going to take a three and make a three. What a tough shot from Graham Ike, who does not usually take any threes.
And that's such a big part of the game here for Gonzaga. If they can get Zach Edey away from the basket, that's a complete game changer.
Certainly is. Fletcher Lawyer, or excuse me, outside it's Kaufman-Renn, wide open for three, leaves it long, picked up by Nembhard. Nembhard races down the court, behind the back dribble, breaks Jones' ankles, and then so we apologize for the technical difficulties. We're going kind of back and forth here. Kelin trying to figure this out.
Yeah, this is a crazy weekend for WCBN Sports. A crew covering softball at Indiana. We've got a crew in Madison Heights, or excuse me, in St. Louis, Missouri, covering hockey, the regionals. Michigan taking on North Dakota, and then a baseball series this weekend. So we had to head into the supply closet and try to scrap together an old soundboard. So not our A equipment we're rocking with tonight, but very thankful to the Student U program at the University of Michigan for lending us a couple of headsets, and then just tried to cobble together a soundboard from the supply closet back in Prod A in Ann Arbor. So thank you for bearing with us, as much as I wish this wasn't the case. There probably is going to be a couple more times throughout this broadcast where our soundboard might cut out for a second, so we do apologize in advance for those errors. And hopefully on Sunday we will have a little more flexibility in our equipment and be able to rectify that. But again, just bear with us tonight as we try to fight through this with you.
Yeah, we certainly should not have any issues on Sunday. We expect to have a different bit of equipment for that one. And so again, we'll reset here. 15:33 to go in the first half. Gonzaga leads at 12-7 over the Purdue Boilermakers. What happened recently? Well, Ryan Nembhard just absolutely broke Lance Jones' ankles, Kelin. I mean, came in racing down the court in transition. Purdue wasn't set, and just hits him with a little behind-the-back shake, and Lance Jones went flying with his ankles stuck to the floor.
Nembhard has really been pushing it in transition. Gonzaga as a team early in this first half.
As we mentioned, we're going to continue to have problems. Again, we apologize for that.
But as I was saying, Gonzaga's really pushed it hard in transition early. Nemhard's been getting out and running, and they've gotten a couple of baskets early on off of that. Obviously, the three-pointer right there, a big one. But look for Gonzaga to continue to push in transition. They're not as big as Purdue, but they're quick. They've got speed, and they can run.
They certainly do, led by Ryan Nemhard, again, averaging 7 assists per game to go along with 12.5 points per game. And so back to action here, just over 15 minutes to go. Lawyer has it outside. It's Lance Jones. He's going to take a three for Purdue and make it back rim and in, and Purdue cuts the lead 12-10 with 15:15 to go.
And that's the gravity of Zach Edey, forcing confusion on the Gonzaga defense, leaves Lance Jones open from deep.
Gonzaga going right to left from our vantage point here. Nemhard in the lane, uses a screen, dumps it off. Outside, it's Ike. Thought about a three. He already made one earlier. Hickman now will take it from the left wing, leaves it short. Corralled in eventually by Graham Ike. Edey's fronting him. Ike sets a screen. Nemhard in the lane, looking to dish it out. Gets stuck under the basket. Whips it back outside to Dusty Stromer into the game. Hickman now. Nolan Hickman working on Lawyer. Puts up a floater, and it rattles home. Very solid start for the Bulldogs here.
And that's a tough shot to get over the outstretched arm of Zach Edey.
And certainly a very high-scoring affair tonight. Gonzaga comes in averaging 85 a game. Purdue 83.9. Edey down low, below the basket, left-hand hook, misses it. Eventually gets tipped out of bounds. It's going to be Purdue basketball.
And I know Gonzaga didn't come away with a stop there, weren't able to secure the rebound. Stopping Zach Edey is a team effort. Can't do it with one man.
Certainly cannot. Edey now in the low post. Working on Ike. Eventually gets poked free. The Bulldogs pick it up. Here comes Hickman the other way. Now Anton Watson. Floater off the left post. Missed it long. Purdue races back down the court. Braden Smith wanted to take a shot. Decides not to. Smith now at the top of the key. Pivots around. Finds Lawyer. Back outside, it's Mason Gillis at the left wing. Gillis now wide open from the corner. Three ball, got it, rattles home. You can't leave Mason Gillis open. 47.8% three-point shooter. Bulldogs back the other way. Hickman has it. Dumps it off at the charity stripe. Ike now, left wing, misses it. Picked up eventually by Stromer. Nemhard whips it outside. Hickman down low, eventually to Watson, and he gets fouled and will head to the line as he went up for a layup. Missed it long.
And an excellent back cut from Watson. He had an alley-oop dunk against the Kansas Jayhawks in the round of 32 off a back cut. He's going to need to really do a good job of getting in the lane on cuts, because it's going to be tough to just put your head down and drive to the cup when Zach Edey's standing there.
Watson drains the first. Anton Watson in his 5th year from Spokane, Washington. 6'8", 228-pound senior, grad senior, I should say. 66% free throw shooter from the line. Leaves the second short. Eventually tipped out by Ike, and Gonzaga gets it back. Nemhard now resets. Working on Lawyer. Wanted to take a step back three. Doesn't. Gets a screen from Ike. Nemhard whips it back out. Hickman with it. Finds Ike. (17-15). Bulldogs lead it with 12:30 to go in the first half. Hickman now working on Smith at the March Madness logo. Outside Ike. Eventually ends up in Nemhard's hands. Dribbles in. Mid-range jumper. Fouled and one. Count it. Plus the foul. Ryan Nemhard off to a very strong start for Gonzaga. 19-15 in favor of the Bulldogs here. Nemhard picks up his 7th point right there, and he'll head to the line looking for his 8th. Couple substitutions. Graham Ike checks off the court. On comes Braden Huff. He's played in all 34 games for Gonzaga, has not started yet. For Purdue, a couple substitutions as well, as Miles Colvin is into the game, the freshman from Indianapolis, Indiana. So Nembhard at the line, drains the and one and converts the three-point play. 20-15 here in the Motor City. Braden Smith across the timeline. High screener from Gillis, gets another one the other way from Edey. Outside, Jones thought about a three, steps into it, will take a three, rattles out, eventually picked up. Oregon over the back foul on Braden Huff, who just came into the game. And it's not easy, Kelin, to box out Zach Edey by any means.
No, it's not. That's a lot of man you're trying to move. The Zags have done a good job early, though.
Inbound for Purdue. Smith has it. Outside, Colvin looking for a shot. Immediately drops back out to Smith. Now Jones into the lane. Wide open floater. Eventually ends up in. And Purdue cuts it to three here, 20-17. So Hickman will get the offense set for the Bulldogs. Pretty neutral crowd here. A lot of Purdue supporters, no doubt. Watson has it, dribbling into the lane. Fall away floater, misses it short, picked up by Edey. Smith the other way. Braden Smith gets a screen from Edey, steps into a jumper at the left wing. Missed it long, eventually corralled in by Colvin. The freshman goes back out to Smith. Smith looking down low, throws the turnover. Braden Huff has it. Here comes Nembhard. Nembhard in the lane, Euro step, jump step, and then eventually Purdue. I think we're back again. We apologize for all the technical difficulties. Certainly very frustrating on our end. 10:57 to go in the first half. Gonzaga leads it 20-17. Decent crowd showing here in Little Caesars Arena, an arena that is not used to having that many people for basketball games. The Pistons have had a treacherous season with just 12 wins as we approach the end of March. But quite a few fans here today. A lot of Tennessee fans in attendance awaiting the second game, which we will attempt to broadcast between Tennessee and Creighton. But nonetheless, to reset once more, Gonzaga, the 5 seed, leads at 20-17 over the first-seeded Purdue Boilermakers here. 3 team fouls apiece. The Bulldogs have shot at 62% from the field, 67% from 3 on 2 of 3 point attempts. Zach Edey for Purdue already has 6 points. Ryan Nembhard for the Bulldogs with 8. So it's been a back-and-forth affair so far. The Bulldogs jumped out to a little bit of a 5-point lead early here, and they've held on to keep the 3-point advantage right now. And Purdue, once again, comes into this game. They're favored by all odds makers. The spread was set at 5.5. Certainly, you know, Gonzaga was a favorite upset pick to possibly get to the Final Four or the Elite Eight. And they're trying to do that today. Bulldogs came into this game 27-7 overall in the season, 14-2 in the West Coast Conference. Purdue, meanwhile, 31-4 overall and 17-3 in the Big Ten Conference. And so we certainly expect a very fast-paced game, very high-scoring game. As I mentioned earlier, the scoring offenses for both these teams are just unbelievable. 85 points a game for the Bulldogs, 83.9 for Purdue. And so we're going to get reset on the floor here as we're coming back to action. Again, Purdue in the all-white uniforms going left to right from our vantage point, which is very high up in the media section here at Little Caesars Arena. So Miles Colvin will inbound for the Boilermakers. Boilermakers line up in a line of 4 on the court. Eventually, Braden Smith checks to the ball, gets it with just under 11 minutes to go in the first half here. Gillis now at the top of the key. To the right elbow, it's Edey. Dumps it off to Smith. Smith now down low to Edey, working on Watson. Has it poked free by Watson. Then we get a foul as Gillis picks up the ball. It's going to be on the floor, though. That'll be the 4th team foul on the Bulldogs. No personal fouls really of note so far. And so we're going to get an inbound on the baseline. It'll be Lance Jones for Purdue.
And that's a great play by Mason Gillis to crash there, the offensive rebound. Gonzaga's done a good job doubling and helping on Edey.
Jones inbounds to Edey. Edey dumps it off to Smith. Smith looking, finds Gillis. Left open at the right wing. Got another. Mason Gillis. You can't leave this guy 3 feet of room and expect him to miss. Purdue's tied it at 20. 10:30 to go in the first half. Nembhard across the timeline. Dumps it off to Watson. Back out. Nembhard at the far wing. Dribbles in. Left dribble. And eventually Gonzaga ends up with it. Anton Watson gets the jumper to go. Braden Smith the other way. Left open for the layup. They gave him a red carpet to the hoop there. Tied game at 22. Nembhard. Slow dribble across half court. They go to Watson. Looks like the same play as last time. High screener at the right wing. Nembhard now working on Jones. Wanted the step back. Dumps it outside to Hickman. Nolan Hickman gets a high screener from Huff. Hickman in the lane at the charity stripe. Dumps it off to Huff at the left elbow. He dribbles in the lane and then off the window and in. Tough bucket by the Bulldogs, and back and forth we go. We knew it was going to be a high-scoring game. It's certainly lived up to the billing so far. High screener from Edey. Smith the other way. Finds Gillis at the top of the key. Some off-ball screens for Purdue. Smith now directing them all around at the right wing. Braden Smith, the steady presence at the guard position. Wanted to step into a baseline jumper. Dumps it off. Gillis now down low. Left hand hook shot. Missed it long. Eventually. So Purdue leads at 25-24 with 8:20 to go. Bulldogs surrender to 3 on the other end. Here comes Purdue and another 3. Braden Smith steps into it and then lets his bench know, or excuse me, the Gonzaga bench know that he made it. Bulldogs here down 4 as Purdue's come marching back with 8:11 to go in the first half. Timeout, Mark Few.
And Neal, when Purdue plays like this, I don't know if there's anyone in the country that can stop them. The Boilermakers knocking down triples are a near impossible task to defend. Braden Smith playing with confidence, Mason Gillis playing with confidence, and all that attention Zach Edey draws, that's what that leads to. Open three-point looks for his teammates.
Yeah, and on one end it was Lance Jones. They come back, they get the stop, and then immediately Braden Smith hits the other three. Purdue got to be feeling good. And, one thing you and I talked about, Kelin, is that you have in Purdue such a steady and dominant presence in Zach Edey down low. He's getting them, Purdue, almost 24, 25 a game. But you know what is kind of a little hidden about this team is that they're such a good three-point shooting team, and the spacing is so beautiful because they find Edey and then they spread out and wait for threes.
It's one of the big differences in last year's team to this year's team. Lance Jones, one of them, and we'll talk about that later on in the broadcast. But his shooting, and as well as the improved shooting of Lawyer, Gillis, and Braden Smith, has really been a huge difference for Purdue this season.
It certainly has. And, just as you mentioned, Lance Jones, the transfer from Southern Illinois, he's been very solid this season for the Boilermakers, averaging 12 a game. He started in all 35 games for Purdue. Did the grad transfer from Evanston, Illinois. And so Purdue, again, leads at 28-24. We have 8:11 to go in the first half. Mark Few, certainly no stranger to these games. 5-3 in coaching in Sweet 16 games. And the Bulldogs, it seems like they're once again, we're just cutting in and out. We're back. Again, 8:11 to go in the first half. Purdue leads at 28-24. It's been an interesting start to this game. Lance Jones, who we were just talking about, the Southern Illinois transfer, he has 8 points for the Boilermakers. Braden Smith with 8, Mason Gillis with 6. So it's been a leading effort by really 4 players for the Boilermakers. Purdue on defense now at the left end. And Lance Jones is going to draw a foul. Anton Watson ran straight through him on a moving screen. Jones a little shaken up. And he gets up a little gingerly there. Definitely not the nicest screen from Anton Watson by any means. So Gillis will inbound from the sideline. Boilermakers up 4. A lot of orange in the crowd awaiting the Tennessee-Creighton game afterwards. Braden Smith now. At the top of the key. Outside, it's Lawyer. Eventually, Gillis ends up with it at the left corner. Gillis now into the lane. Pivots around. Finds Smith outside. 3-ball just short. Picked up by Ike. He's back in the game. Nembhard across half court. Working on Smith. Gets a high screener from Ike. Nembhard to the right elbow. Outside. Eventually they go down low to Ike. Eventually Nembhard left wide open for 3. Misses it. Ike follows it up and home with a 2-hand slam. Gonzaga cuts it to 2 with 7:15 to go in the first half here. Gillis now at the top of the key. Outside it's Kaufman-Renn. Renn still with it. Dumps it off to Smith. Smith now looking for Lawyer. Outside, Smith. Back to Lawyer. Lawyer steps into a 3. Off-base jumper, missed it. Picked up by Ike. Hickman the other way. Outside to Nembhard. Nembhard directing traffic. Finds Ike. Outside, Anton Watson left wide open for 3 and got it.
And that's too easy for Watson. Corner pocket wide open.
Yeah, 41% three-point shooter that Purdue just left wide open there in that corner. A little bit surprising. So Gonzaga takes the lead back here. Kaufman-Renn now at the left block. Into the lane. Looks for a foul, and we're going to get a travel call instead. Kaufman-Wren moved his feet too many times.
And Edey already checking back in. That was a short break for number 15. I was just... And I was just saying, Edey, with him not on the floor, those are the minutes where if you're Gonzaga, you have to attack the bucket. Get Anton Watson going downhill. Get EK some touches and let those guys try to get in rhythm inside and get some easy ones, because when Edey's on the floor, you're really almost forced to take perimeter shots or do some really creative things to get him out of the lane and out of position.
Yeah, certainly. And Edey, I mean, so far in this game has already shown up. He has 6 points to go with 4 rebounds, 1 assist. And so Gonzaga, they have their hands full. There's no doubt about it. But you got to also wonder, too, Kelin, maybe they're fine allowing a little bit of production from him. They're up a point right now with 6:19 to go in the first. And so we'll see if the Bulldogs can keep it going. They've been shooting the ball very, very well. I was just going to say the parts that have worked so far for Gonzaga has been the shooting 60% from the field. There's 60% from the field and from the three-point line. Just 3 free throws so far, in which they've made 2 of them. And so Bulldogs have been off to a tough start, or solid start, I should say, and kind of seeing all the fans all over the place for Gonzaga. A long trip for the fans from Spokane, Washington, no doubt, to watch their team here in the Sweet 16. It's a Gonzaga program that, frankly, has become a mainstay in the Sweet 16. We mentioned it earlier, but Mark Few, 5-3 in Sweet 16 games. He's been in this tournament, first of all, forever, but in the second weekend, forever. And it's a Gonzaga team that has a lot of experience playing in these games. And so you got to wonder, with Purdue, the nightmare of last year, losing the first round to Fairleigh Dickinson, they're trying to shed these March demons that have constantly come around annually. They get the chance to do so today, 2 games away from reaching the Final Four. Once again, you're listening to WCBN Sports on YouTube. We want to note that we will be broadcasting, or attempting to, considering our equipment issues right now, but we will be attempting to broadcast the Tennessee-Creighton game as well afterwards. And we're hearing a "Let's Go Bulldogs" chant for Gonzaga. There's a lot of neutral site energy here. Fans going back and forth for both sides. And back to action with 6:15 to go. Nembhard dribbles it up, finds Watson. Back to Nembhard. High screener from EK. Nembhard dribbling to his right, dumps it off to Hickman. We've seen a few substitutions so far, but this is back almost with the starting lineup for the Bulldogs here. Hickman now coming off a screen, working at the left elbow. Dumps outside to Greg. Nembhard now with it again. Ryan Nembhard trying to find space. Goes down low to Watson. Floater too strong. Eventually picked up by Smith. Here comes Lawyer the other way. Steps into a 3. Got it. Nothing but net. Purdue takes a 2-point lead back, 31-29. Watson at the top of the key. Outside at the right wing, it's Hickman. Dumps it off to Watson. Into the lane, off the window and off. Picked up by Edey. Smith the other way, looking for Lawyer. He's already hit 1 3. Braden Smith now. Picked up the dribble. Hickman's fronting him. Smith just letting the clock run down here. 15 on the shot clock. Smith at the far wing, right in front of the Gonzaga bench. Gets a screen from Edey. Another one from Lawyer. Steps into a straight line jumper. Misses it. Picked up by Ike. Nembhard the other way. Throws it through a bunch of players. We're going to get a deflection out of bounds off of a Purdue Boilermakers. So Gonzaga will hold on to possession here in the Coffin's corner here near the Oakland Grizzlies logo. So it'll be Anton Watson to inbound here. Finds Nembhard. Nembhard will dribble it around, get set here. Few barking out his orders. High screener to his left. Nembhard gets a switch. Working on Edey now. He's going to take advantage of this one. Wags his hands to move away his teammates. Dumps it off down low. Ike under the bucket. Flips it up and in. Tie game back into Detroit. After a few technical issues, we get a foul on Gonzaga there. It's going to be on Anton Watson. That's the 6th team foul for the Bulldogs. Purdue conversely with 3. And so the inbounder for Purdue is Fletcher Lawyer. Goes up top to Braden Smith at the March Madness logo. Smith, screener from Edey. Cross-court pass to Jones. He's going to step into a 3. Just too strong. Two-hand putback by Edey. Missed it. He was right under the bucket. Bulldogs end up with it. Just under 4 to go in the first half. Hickman steps into a straight line floater. Got it. Gonzaga takes a 2-point lead.
How about these Zags, Neal?
They're battling, man. They are battling right now. Gillis now, top of the key. Dribbling around. Dumps it off to Jones. Jones back to Lawyer. Smith now at the right wing, goes down low to the likely National Player of the Year. Edey working on Ike. Outside Jones. Into the lane, off the window, and in. Back and forth in Detroit. Tie game here. Nembhard again, always wanting to get out in pace and find space. The facilitator getting the Gonzaga Bulldogs set here in the half court. We're going to get a foul on Lance Jones about 40 feet from the bucket. Purdue faithful not happy with it as we'll head to the media timeout. 3:09 to go in the first half. Tie ball game here at Little Caesars Arena in Motor City, 33 apiece.
It's been a fun one here early, Neal. I mean, despite the technological difficulties we're having, this has been a lot of fun so far. Two really good teams going at it. And when you look at the story of Gonzaga's season, this was a team that wasn't sure they were going to make the tournament at some points this year. They pick up a big win on the road at Kentucky and now are in the Sweet 16 tie game against Purdue as we approach halftime. They are clicking on all cylinders right now. This is a team that we're like coming into this game, I would not want to be facing if I'm anyone in the country. And Purdue drawing a real tough 5 seed here, but the Boilermakers. For Purdue, they've done a good job shooting it from distance so far, but have not really been able to get Edey into rhythm too much. I think that's a credit to Gonzaga and their efforts defensively. I've really liked the rotations and the switching from the Zags. That last possession was a prime example. Very clean stuff defensively. Ended up with a Lance Jones layup, and that again is a credit to Edey almost in the way that the help defense works. Ike can't step up too much because he doesn't want to leave Edey available as an outlet.
Yeah, and we've already talked about obviously the offensive prowess of both of these teams. I mean, Purdue comes into this third overall in the Ken Palm efficiency rankings, but third in offense specifically. Gonzaga, meanwhile, 7th. And you can see that in their scoring offenses. The amount of points that these two teams put up is quite unbelievable. And I mean, already we're on pace probably for an 80-80 game. And so, you know, a lot of scoring. It's going to be a fun one, going to be a very fun second half, no doubt. Once again, the Bulldogs led by Ryan Nembhard as well as Graham Ike, as they kind of have been all season. For Purdue, it's Zach Edey with 6. He hasn't scored a point, I don't think, in the last like 7-8 minutes-ish in this game. But the Boilermakers have been helped out by Mason Gillis with 2 threes. Lance Jones has a couple threes of his own, and Purdue shooting 7 of 13 from three-point land right now.
Yeah, that's been the story of the game for the Boilermakers. I want to highlight Graham Ike, his 9 points, and that 1 3-point. Graham Ike's 1 made 3-pointer, and how big that's been. Just keeping Zach Edey's mind out on there that he has to take that extra step up, which can create some driving lanes and opportunities for the rest of the Bulldogs.
No doubt. And a surprise 3-point attempt from Graham Ike, who has only taken 3 on the season, but he's now made 2. So definitely congratulations to him for that. And so back to action, 3 minutes to go in the first half. Nembhard has it at the near wing. A couple slip screens. And eventually Nembhard finds Hickman working at the free throw line. Outside, it's Ike at the left block. Hickman left wide open at the top of the key, leaves it short. Eventually batted off of Zach Edey's head and picked up by Fletcher Lawyer. It's a Purdue team that averages just over 40 rebounds a game. Boilermakers now on offense. Gillis with it at the left wing. Looking for Edey. Finds him at the top of the key. Eventually they flip to the other side. It's Lance Jones. Gillis now, top of the key. Down low, they go to Edey at the left block. Boilermakers up 2 with 1:54 to go. Ike is going to take another 3 and make another 3. Kelin, what is going on? Graham Ike showing the stroke from behind the arc, and Purdue suddenly finds himself down 1.
And that's an absolute game changer. Completely changes how you have to play this Gonzaga team defensively.
Smith now on the offensive end. Wanted to step into 3. Decided against it. Gillis now at the left wing. Down low, they go to Edey. Ike guarding him. Edey down low, off the window, and too strong. We're going to get a travel call anyways. The Boilermaker fans are not happy, as you can clearly hear.
And man, have I been impressed with Graham Ike so far. Defensively holding his own against Edey inside. And then obviously getting it done on the offensive end as well. A couple of big-time shots from the big fella.
Nembhard now, high screener, couple high screeners. A tough one from Ike, and they're going to call it as an offensive foul. Oh boy, Kelin, that's a tough call to make there.
Yeah, it looked like Ike was set. Definitely a hard screen, but I don't know that you put that on Ike necessarily.
Yeah, and there was a couple that Lance Jones was trying to go through. He's already been bruised so far this game. And so Purdue with it now. Just over a minute left in the first half. Boilermakers down 1. Cross-court pass. Jones at the near wing. Might have traveled with it. Goes outside to Gillis. Jones steps into a jumper. Got it. Nothing but net for Lance Jones. Purdue regains a 1-point lead. Nembhard dribbling it around. 45 seconds. Does Gonzaga go for the 2-for-1? They do. And so Purdue will get the last shot of the half here at 24 seconds. Purdue leading 37 to 36 over Mark Few's Gonzaga Bulldogs. Once again, it's the Midwest Sweet 16. Braden Smith at the top of the key, down low. Edey gets fouled. Count it, and one. Zach Edey, a bump of the head, it doesn't matter. The two-hand dunk was coming anyways. Boilermakers take a 3-point lead, and Edey will head to the line.
And he caught a good one on his noggin there on the way up, but 7'4", 300 pounds of man. It's going to take a little more than a bump on the head to stop him.
No doubt. And Ben Gregg, I mean, that is his third personal foul. You know, he was going to make sure that Edey was going to feel him there if he was going to foul him. I mean, really smacked him across the head. 9.5 seconds left. The National Player of the Year from last year, and likely the same for this year, at the line. Got it. He's perfect from the line so far, is Zach Edey, of 3 of 3. And Purdue has a 4. So 5.1 seconds. Gonzaga will inbound. It'll be Dusty Stromer to inbound. Bulldogs down 4 here in the first half. They find Nembhard, 3 seconds, and he gets a foul 50 feet from the bucket. It's Chris Morton that fouls him, and Morton checks out immediately. And Lance Jones comes back on. The Purdue fans giving Chris Morton a standing ovation for that foul. Nembhard now back to action, 3 seconds. Outside, Ike, a three-pointer at the buzzer, just strong. And so we go into the half with Purdue up 40-36. It's a loud one here in Motor City. A back and forth half there, Kelin, but the Boilermakers hold on to a 4-point advantage.
And Purdue fortunate to be up 4 there. Down the stretch, Gonzaga really played well, but good stuff from both sides. This was excellent basketball through the first 20 minutes. Really excited to see what the next 20 have in store. A very, very good contest we've got here in Detroit.
Certainly, and this is some very different basketball, I think, than a lot of WCBN listeners are used to. A Michigan team that didn't have the best of seasons, but we are privileged enough to be sitting here in Little Caesars Arena with some media credentials to watch this game and broadcast it to you. Once again, Tennessee-Creighton will be following this one about 30 minutes after the end of this first game here. A lot of Tennessee Orange is in the crowd right now, but a lot of Purdue fans, and they've been getting loud. They've been making sure that Gonzaga can hear them. Decent amount of Bulldogs too, but Mark Few's squad down 4 once again going into the half. And we will step aside for this halftime break. We'll be working on getting all these technical difficulties figured out. And so once again, we apologize for all of the issues that this broadcast have had, and we will try to get back to you and figure them out at the halftime. So we'll be back in about 15 minutes before the second half tip here.